feels like you really don't have any control over it. It almost drops up, it comes up.
Yeah. So,
So,
the one way of, I mean, look, it's all right if you're happy with it. But at some point, if you begin to feel that this is not, I'm not happy with this, that's where the whole reflection starts and you want to change. For changing, you need to first have the desire to change. If you're happy with something, then it's okay. Watch and see. Watch yourself. And, you know, there was a great, supposed to be an interaction. I end up talking on it. If you don't mind, I'll tell you another story. There was a great saint in India, a weaver. He was a weaver, handloom weaver. His name was Kabir, and he lived in the holy city of Banaras. And in fact, in his days, he was a very revolutionary man, because there was a belief among the people that if you die in Banaras, you will immediately reach heaven, or you will be free, you will attain freedom. So 4 years before he died, he shifted from Banaras to some other place to figure out if you would get freedom by dying somewhere else. Now this Kabir, who was a weaver, has written a lot of songs and poems about enlightenment, which are almost like the Upanishads but in simple language. One of them is about a musk deer. There's a variety of deer called the musk deer, M-U-S-K. In India they're called Kasturi Mrga, musk deer. They're in the Himalayas, in some parts of the Himalayas. Small built deer. And they have a small pouch and somewhere near the tail, where during the breeding season, musk is produced. You know the musk which you use in perfume? Musk. Real musk. And now when the musk is produced, there's a beautiful fragrance coming. And this deer, poor deer, D-E-E-R, also D-E-A-R, this poor deer goes around looking for the source of this fragrance, not knowing that it's coming from under its tail, its little pouch. It looks everywhere. It pokes its snout into thorny bushes and gets bleeding, but it doesn't know where it's coming from. It doesn't know it comes from itself. So Kabir said, in the same way, when you realize that all real happiness is inside you, and not dependent on anything outside, then you're no more like the musk deer. Otherwise, whatever you have doesn't mean anything. It has to come from inner satisfaction. And the more you go into this, you go closer to the truth which the Upanishad teaches. The Upanishad says that in the center of your being is the essence of all happiness and freedom. In the center of it. You may call it heart, call it what you like, but it's not, of course, the organ that pumps blood. We're talking about the center of consciousness. So why did I say this? Oh, to your question.
right.
See what happened, there's another problem here, that when the mind becomes quiet and tranquil, it often lapses into that quietness and forgets what was going on. And you've got to come back. So dangerous to drive, of course. I'm joking, I drive long distance. Something takes care of it. Till some years ago, they know to drive long distance. And now I've hired a driver basically because he needs money.
I'm curious about the slapping of the face and how long you carry that with you, and wanting then to get your opportunity, right, to slap the other person. So aren't there situations, or maybe help me understand,
Yeah.
how you separate the situation from looking for the opportunity to get them back versus an obligation that you have to stand up and say something?
Now, we have to examine ourselves very carefully, figure out, are we doing this because we are hurt, or are we doing this because we feel a sense of responsibility in correcting that person? This is something which you only can figure out. I can't. Because they all depend on individual situations and two different individuals. So there's no harm. And the thing is, we are asking about, can we be free of that hurt, not the response. Understand? Like, for instance, sometimes one has to send a message that this can't go on forever. That's fine. But don't carry that enmity and hurt. You understand? That's what I meant.
Okay.
We have a story, another story. It's a day of stories. This is interesting. Not exactly, but very similar. It seems there was a small village in India where lived a very dangerous snake, a cobra, you know. And nobody could walk on that path because they were very frightened of this cobra. Very poisonous bite. So one day, you know what a brahmachari is? Brahmachari is a spiritual student who is generally celibate, unmarried, because he has to give complete energies to what he's searching for. And once then he can get married. But brahmachari is one who is like an apprentice, right? Religious apprentice, let's say. So there's one of them walking on the street. So somebody warns him, don't go there. There's a very dangerous cobra out there, so be careful. One bite and you'll be dead. So he says, don't worry about that. I know some, what do you call them, mantras. Is it an English word? Incantation.
Charms.
Charms. I know something by which I can control the cobra, so don't worry. So he goes. And as expected, the cobra raises its hood and comes close to him. And you can come here. It's okay. It's okay. So it comes near him and he does whatever. He mutters some chants and incantations and brings the cobra under his control. So the cobra says, I accept you as my teacher, so please teach me how to lead a good life and become like you. He says, I'll teach you what to do. I'll teach you a chant which you have to keep on chanting. But there's one condition if you have to do this. You should stop biting from now on. So cobra thinks, biting? Okay, he says, I want. I promise. Just teach me this. He gives him the mantra or incantation and he goes away. And a year later, he comes back. And he finds that the street is very crowded. The boys, little boys playing marbles and quite busy. So he says, what happened to the cobra? You're no more afraid of him? Ah, no. He says, oh, that cobra. He stopped biting, so we have handled him very well. He's in the hole, he can't get up, his spine is all broken. Because when he stopped biting, we really gave him the treatment. And so, he's down there. He's almost invalid. So, this man goes and calls him by name. Hey, are you there? He says, oh yes, Guru, I'm here. But you know what, I stopped biting and these boys manhandle me and my spine broken and I can't come out. I mean, but I continue to chant. So the teacher says to him, can you be so foolish? I told you not to bite. I didn't ask you not to hiss. Do you understand? So sometimes you need to hiss in this world. You don't have to have a poisonous bite. Understand? But unfortunately, they quickly figure this out, the world. They quickly figure out after a while that this guy can't bite, he can only hiss. This is my experience. And they begin doing all kinds of things, but you can't help it. Think about it. See, many answers may not be perfect answers to a question, but if they serve as food for thought, it's good enough. Then you think about it. You know, in the Upanishadic dialogue, seeds are planted, you know, and then the seeds, depending upon various factors, the soil has to be good, the watering has to be done, pruning, plowing. It grows into a big tree and gives forth beautiful fruit.
A question. You said earlier something about the knowledge was kept secret because of children and matches. Do you see anything like that happening now with kids' matches and dynamite because of the knowledge?
Yeah, sometimes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge is in any way a dangerous thing. It's a double-edged weapon. You see, can you imagine nuclear scientists who have the capacity to unleash so much power, energy? The moment they become immoral, they can destroy the world.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I mean.
Yeah.
So one has to be careful before imparting. And one good thing about this is that there is a built-in disbelief in human beings, which prevents this energy from coming. It's a safety wall which has been fitted. So when somebody says, oh, I don't believe in all this power, I'm very glad. I say sometimes, I say, I also don't believe. Because it's a good safety wall. For instance, this is not our subject today, but for instance, it's a fact for me that you can actually get free of your physical body and move around in your subtle body. This is a fact for me. But most people cannot do it. Not only because they don't know the technique, because they don't believe it, which is good. You know, imagine, can't sleep in peace, somebody coming and peeping in. Unless it's a yogi who decides it's like reading somebody's private letter, you should do it. Now, till that maturity is reached, it's better not to believe, not to have faith in it. It's a good safety wall. Because that's why in all the yogic teachings, for instance, including the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, there is the first section called Yama Niyama, rules and regulations to be followed. Only when you follow the rules and regulations have become perfect in these, why then you are no more a selfish human being. Then you go forward. And you can have any capacity, but you will not use it for yourself. What?
You were talking about leaving your body, and so my question for you is, are you conscious of when you're doing it and where you're going?
Now please, you don't have to believe this. It's my word against yours.
No,
But
I'm asking
yes,
because I know I leave
yes.
my body as well, but I don't remember it, so.
Yeah, you remember. You remember perfectly. There are two sections in this matter. I said this is not our subject today, but since we are on the topic, one is to be able to leave the body, the other is to remember. When both these come together, then it works. It's a fact that every human being, every night when they go to sleep, do leave their bodies. It's not a special capacity. Everybody has it. Difference, they don't remember. Oh, they may have dreams, which is a mix-up of their experiences and other things in the mind. So it becomes a kind of meaningless mixture, but they don't remember it in sequence, in the proper sequence. This is what happens.
My question was more just about the books in general, because you said in the beginning, it went from Sanskrit to Persian
Yeah.
to
Right.
Latin to Greek or Greek to Latin or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So are there now books available that have been translated from Sanskrit directly to English?
Yes, very much. In fact, I have
It's on the table?
I have 3 Upanishads translated. They are talks. My talks have been recorded and transcribed. One of them is the Ishavasya Upanishad, the other is the Kena Upanishad, and the third one is the Madhukya, which we discussed about dream and waking state and so on. They are in English. Not only my translation.
Right.
It so happens that it is here, but there are others.
Now these are just recordings?
Yeah, these are recordings
Recordings,
which have
okay.
been transcribed into book form.
Oh, and transcribed into a book?
Yeah.
Perfect.
But there are also, I think, CDs. I don't know.
Yes.
Once I finish this, I don't know whether they are making books or CDs. It's beyond me.
Still be.
I want to talk about leaving the body, please. You said the safety ball. So I have a stone I have to sleep with, because when I leave my body, it doesn't feel good. It's like my physical body hangs on and it gets scared that it feels like I'm dying. It goes from my feet up through my crown chakra. And if I use the stone, then it either stops that or minimizes it.
Minimizes the fear or stops you from going.
Oh, I don't know. So I think this is a good question, because sometimes the next morning I'll remember where I've gone, but this is my question too. I wonder if it stops me from going. And then how do I stop that? If not,
No.
feeling.
But please, if you really have the capacity, there's nothing to fear. You should let yourself go.
Yes.
And remember, there's nothing to fear. You just chant.
Just make sure you come back.
No, again, there's no fear there, because you have to come back. I mean, you cannot keep out even if you want. You cannot. So that thing, if you remember, then there won't be this fear that you come back. You will have to come back. You go only when the final time comes, when you won't come back, not otherwise.
That's a very strange feeling.
It's a wonderful feeling.
Okay, I'll try
Learn
to
to
work with
enjoy
that.
it. Learn to enjoy it. It's a wonderful feeling. Don't be afraid. It's this fear that prevents you from actually doing it properly.
Okay.
And the moment you wake up, take a notebook and immediately note down. Otherwise, there is a tendency to forget after a while. In about an hour, it would have gone. Write it down.
Thank you.
So it's 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Shall we call it a day now? It's already evening. Thank you. I appreciate that you all sat quiet and listened with complete attention. I'm very glad. So tomorrow morning,
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock
10
here.
to 12. Mhm. Here.
What's the subject?
Oh, I'll tell you tomorrow.
Good. That's nice. Because I also love to have my slate clean.
Step by step, yoga,
Something like that, yeah. Like how yoga, step by step yoga.
Okay.
It's
So
a-
we are dealing with Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Ashtanga Yoga.
Intellectual yoga, right? Just want to make sure it's dressed properly.
If anybody needs to use a restroom, they are